Hello, friends. I'm happy to be back on Deep Talk after a long time, and I have a very special guest, Dr. C. N. Ashwant Narayan, sir, who is the current Minister of Science and Technology, Higher Education and IT, PT of Karnataka government, who is with me. He's also the first politician who I'm interviewing on my Deep Talk. And I'm interviewing him not to discuss politics, but because he is an inspiration. His journey is not that of a typical politician, and his viewpoints and vision, the way he thinks about IT and technology in particular, it's not what you expect a typical politician to be like. So it's a big pleasure, Dr. CN Ashwath Narayan sir, thank you so much for coming on Deep Talk and inspiring my viewers.
Chetan, it's a great opportunity to be part of this conversation with a person which always we have been looking forward to interact and talk to each other. Even I never even thought that we'll be meeting each other or we'll be talking to each other. This is a great opportunity to express myself with regard to the ministry which I handle. I would like to share with my young friends.
No, thank you. And sir, I'll be honest with you. I have never got politicians because one always wonders, right? You get a politician, then it'll become like about, Congress versus BJP and things like that. And there is too much of that happening. And I think what young people need today are answers to some of the things that is happening, and you are in a state that is known for technology. It's quite a responsibility to be an IT. Of course, there's BT, science and technology, higher education, everything is a big skill development, entrepreneurship, everything you are doing there. But to be in Karnataka and to be kind of the minister for these tech companies, which are not only they're some of the biggest tech companies in the world, and you are like kind of supporting them, and the technology is moving so fast, and you don't have that background in a way, right? You're actually, we'll go into your background and medical background you have, which is even more different than a politician. But how is that working with some of the smartest minds, some of the biggest companies in the world?
Definitely it's a great opportunity, since all of us know how technology has made a difference in our lives, in our country, how it has brought the system very closer to the people, not just closer, just it's on the tip of their fingers itself. They can get the entire system, what they want, and what can government do for them, and as well as in what way the response or the either way to and fro. It has been a great connection, and it has made a huge difference in the lives of the people. And more so, the people who are involved in technology or the innovation are excellent human beings. They have a lot of aspiration and dreams to do many things, many good things. They want to ensure that the best possible things can be done in their lives, and in this direction, always they will be, putting a lot of challenges for themselves, and they want to achieve all those things and do things which is really it can be a big solution with regard to the problems what people have been facing. See, most of the things what we have been seeing is the kind of challenges or the problems what people have been facing that needs to be resolved in their own personal lives also. Most of them have faced more problems in their lives. So with all these things, a medical man connecting with the technology is a real big challenge. I completely agree with you. Not that I was completely a tech man. It was nothing like that. But I am a man. My strength is connecting with people, hearing to them, and getting things done. And we can involve them. See, our government, for that matter, we have been always, connected with the industry. They have been part of the government, and it's been more of a not a government. It's been very friendly. We have been facilitating things to happen. We involve them in what needs to be done in every possible levels with regard to the policy design, and thereby the learning happens better. The learning happens better, and I'm able to learn more and more things by engaging with them, listening to them, and we are able to do that and engaging and adapting, which is relevant to the times. The adaptation was the biggest thing. See, time and again, the adaptation it will be the foremost important thing. We need to adapt whatever is the right thing to be done in the right time. We need to go for it, and we need to take up. And in this process, it has been so simplified. Probably the simplification has happened so much. The last man in the society also easily can connect with the system. Such as in
That's
the
true.
earlier, it used to be little bit complicated.
In fact, sir,
Cognitive.
I will share this with you. I'm just sharing your own Twitter feed with you. I'm just, this is the tweet you've done 1 hour back. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
in this says our government is keen to further enhance its support. And you're saying startups are just one call away from government for any assistance. Right. This is one of the headlines of one of the articles that have come. Startups are just one call away from government for any assistance. So this kind of thing, you don't, like I said, firstly, let me just tell you to my viewers, I didn't even mention Sir's party because I wanted you to know him as a person little bit first, which we will be, before I say he's from this party. And then suddenly people are like, oh my God, now anybody who knows, there's a BJP government in Karnataka. So of course, Dr. Sir is from the BJP. But like I said, today we're going to talk about nation building. Today we're going to talk about jobs. Today we're going to talk about how people like you who are watching this channel, how they can benefit from the IT revolution. So, sir, this whole thing, I'm going to be very honest, and then I'll go into your life journey. A lot of times, state government, especially, people say, what is this Bangalore? 1% of voter base, 2% of voter base, all these tech people, they are not a vote bank. Why should we care so much about them? We should care about, the interiors. We'll just give them some free, I don't know, rice and free bicycles and free this. And then we will focus on that. And that's how we will be in power. Who cares about this little bit of Bangalore and Kormangla and all these people who are, but your approach is very different. You're very, very focused on the development of IT. In fact, this big IT summit is happening, which I'm lucky to be part of. That's how I connected with you, sir. Why is vote bank politics not coming into this?
I didn't get the last part, Chetan.
Why are you looking at it differently? Why is this important? Because from a vote bank politics point of view, this will make no sense. Why should we care about these few software companies?
Chetan, the whole system and playing into the gallery, being politically right will be always the topmost priority. Normally, every political party, every politician would like to be. But more than that, a great opportunity when we have been given an opportunity to make a big difference. This has been the aspiration. This has been our dream. See, why we need to get into politics? See, politics, nobody will ask us to come into the politics. Nobody will invite us. So we come on our own with a lot of dreams and aspiration to contribute to the society so that we should be a part of the transformation that makes a meaningful life for us once in a lifetime. When we aspire to do something, which we need to do it in a right spirit, not just, occupying or getting some position. So when we understand where we are, what needs to be done, what is really going wrong. Because since we being a part of the society, we know really being the leader, more so being a leader, being in a responsible position, we need to set right. Because what is creating more and more problem, more and more challenges, why we are not moving ahead, why still there are a lot of issues. So when we get this position, how to resolve on, how to make it an effective, dynamic system where the aspiration of the last man in the society can be connected and he should be empowered, he needs to be facilitated, he needs to be strengthened, so that he's also a human being. See, no different from any other person. But since he's been not given a right opportunity or a right facilitation or a right ecosystem, that is what is causing the biggest drawback. So in this direction, we need to ensure that the voice of the people, the last man in the society, what he wants really, what needs to be done. It is not just only freebies. Freebies is something, a welfare state. Making them stand on their own leg, build their own better future, being more strong. And because we can't be no less than any other citizen of any other country. Because in the globalized world, there's nothing like second, third status cannot be there. Either you have to be best, and we need to be the best possible performer. We need to compete. The dynamics doesn't give us any subsidy there. We need to compete very strongly. For that to happen, we need to empower them. and give them wherever they're living, wherever, whatever they're doing, they need to get the same opportunity, the same facilities, irrespective of the place. And but when it comes to the Bangalore, luckily Bangalore has emerged not just as in a capital of a state, it has become the real place for the entire country and for the entire world. Bangalore is no more just limited to any our Kannadigas or Karnataka. Bangalore is catering to the entire nation. Bangalore is catering to the entire world. So Bangalore, how much of difference it has made? We have been telling this story, how technology, how innovation is making difference in your lives. This is the real strength. This is the real strength. This is the pride of our state. This is the pride of a Kannadiga. This is the pride where we need to own this. We need to get inspired. We need to get inspired and we need to take it, adapt it in our life and become the real achievers. See, in the entire world, we need to get that, recognition that we are proud to be in a Kannadiga, Indian and a Bangalorean. How we are able to do that. Now all the entire world has recognized. We need to recognize them among ourselves. We need to do that. Not only the entire world has been recognizing, we don't know that how the world is looking forward to this place, how much of difference has been happening. And in this direction, I really get inspired and motivated. I personally am many times looking at the kind of achievement being made by the youngsters. That has been the real inspiration. Why not? Why we can't do it? When they have done so much, why we can't do it? See, it is only the will to do it. And we are taking this narrative. And earlier it was just limited more and more to the Bangalore. We are trying to take this beyond Bangalore and tell every person in the last man, even let him be in the remotest place. We are telling the success story of Bangalore will be taken to your place. We want your place to be similar to the Bangalore. And you need to flourish. You need to prosper. You need to do well. You should be recognized by the entire world in this direction. Bangalore is a very fantastic story. It is not just limited to any particular few people or to any particular region.
Okay, that's good. And speaking of empowerment, let's go to the fun part, which I want to talk about your life, right? Now, forget that you're minister right now. Forget today. This is your level today. But one day you were not like this. And those are the people watching the channel, right? Most of the YouTube gives me the data. Most of them are in the 18 to 30 group and they are watching this channel because they are not an author yet. They are not a minister yet, but they have dreams. You mentioned the word aspiration. They want to do well. So let me get this out of the way. I kind of know the answer, but were you born into a big political family where your daddy was chief minister or something big, or what kind of, when you were, what do they call you at home when you were a child? Because you have a pretty, did you have a nickname or something?
Yeah, definitely. I had a nickname. They used to call me Papu.
Bapu?
Not Babu, Papu.
Papu. Okay, that's a nice.
Because I was the last kid in my family. So I was the youngest one. So they used to call me Papu, means baby, like,
Okay, so Bapu. Okay, so that's a cute name. So when Papu was 8 years old, right? Were you born into a big political powerful family or a rich family, or what kind of a house was it? What did your dad do? What kind of a student you were in school? Were you quiet, introvert, extrovert? What were you like?
I was born into a family of a government officer. My father was more of a sports person, a well-qualified person with a graduation, post-graduation qualification. He started as a teacher. Then gradually he got promoted as a district officer. He retired as a district officer. And my family is not a political family, but I had an aspiration to get into this. So, and
since when? When was the first, like at 8 years old, what were you like? Were you like a very quiet student in school? Were you talkative? Were you looks like you were the youngest, so a lot of spoiling happening? Like, what was it like?
When I was in the school, I was basically a very active person, I used to connect very easily with people, socially very easily. But when it comes to the expressing myself, I was not really good in expressing myself, and I was not, a good speaker or very good articulator. I was having a lot of aspiration, but I had a lot of dreams. I wanted to achieve big things. But in this direction, whatever required things, I was never used to do any required things in that direction. Academically, I was not a great person academically, but I more and more I used to be with extracurricular activities, playing, connecting, organizing events, Ganapati, like this Ganapati Chaturthi, and many of more events,
Hmm.
organizing tournaments. That is to I used to do it from a very engaged from the age of 6, 7. I started doing all these things, and
From
more
the
I was
age of
responsible.
6, 7, from the age of 6, 7, you were organizing things.
Ganesh
Really?
Chaturthi, Ganesh
Wow.
Chaturthi. As a team, I used to organize. See, elder people you never used to allow us to be part of their team. So what to do?
Yeah.
We can't get along with them. So I used to start my own. So to anyhow, we used to love doing that, celebrating the Ganesh Chaturthi. It was really it feel good for any children to organize this kind of function. We aspire to do all these kind of things. So I used to do all these things and organize kabaddi tournament, cricket tournament. I used to do a lot of things and
Okay.
always I live most of the time on the
But
street.
yeah, but when you grew like, and as you got a little older, you did join medical school. Like you became a doctor, even though you are saying you had an interest in organizing things and doing something big. But was that like due to some your own interest, or was it the typical Indian middle class pressure that you have to become a doctor or engineer? What was that?
No, basically, somehow when I saw many of these political parties coming and campaigning in our
Mhm.
localities or in our streets, somehow I got connected. It was something interesting and attractive, coming and asking for votes
Mm.
and seeking the votes. All these things, somehow I loved it doing that. So we used to, go to the political leaders, asking them to give badges. Their political badges will be there. We used to ask them to give their campaign material, cap, badges. I used to ask them. So many a times they used to deny us. They used to, scare us away. And somehow, even then, we never used to leave them. Somehow, we used to ensure that we'll get the badges and all this. And gradually, somehow, I started, liking that, getting into politics. We need to be a leader. We need to contest for election. That was so more of a glamour. It was more of a glamour. It was attracting more and more. So I thought in one day I need to become a politician. I need to represent. I need to be in a people's representative. That became an aspiration for me. Somehow I started working in that direction. That continued even now. After that, I used to get more and more people, closer affinity to the people who talk more about this kind of social activity, political activity. I used to get connected, and
Mhm.
I started working. I wanted one day uh, to become a political leader. So in this direction
But like
I
what
planned.
were your parents saying? I mean, your parents didn't they say what are you doing? Like why don't you just have a job? What is this? Like, okay, you want to do Ganpati organizing, you do, but to say that because I like people who come and campaign and I find it interesting. I mean, didn't they say what is this is not a career? Unless you are from political family in India, typically people say, I mean, what would you say to people who are watching this? Some of them might be interested in joining politics. What do you want to say to them? Like, is that a career? Is that even a choice? Or is it just a chance? Or like, I mean, what were your parents' views? How did you handle it all?
Basically, my father is a very uh, friendly person, and he'll always encourage being adventurous, being a leader. Always love to be because he's basically a sports person. So always he used to appreciate, being trying to be a leader, growing up, and serving the. My mother used to be very happy, serving the society. Always, she wanted her children to serve the society selflessly, be good human beings, try to reach out because we have seen the difficulties of the life being very challenging, difficult. So helping others was my mother always. She used to insist, always help people, do good for the people. And we have seen all the difficulties and challenges in our life. We have seen, sir, and what is poverty, money, difficulty, all these things we have seen. And more so, since being the last kid in the family, my father is to, encourage whatever I used to do. My father is to encourage and is to tell me, do what you want, no problem. You do what you want. We'll be with you. You achieve and do good in your life. So that way, my family never came in the way. They wanted me to grow and do things whichever I like. But as I proceeded or went forward, I before I got could get into the politics, as you rightly pointed out, Chetan. How about my livelihood? If I get into politics, if I am not able to take care of myself, how will I be able to take care of the people? So I didn't want that to happen. First, and then I thought I was in a hurry to get into politics when I passed out, graduated from medicine. in the year 94. I wanted to get into the politics. I was in a very hurry, in a hurry, man in a hurry, to get into it, emerge, grow bigger, occupy the biggest position, the topmost position. I was so much of, in a rush to achieve things very fast. But when I thought over, then I thought, if people ask me, what are you doing, boss? Then I will not be in a position to answer their question. What do you do for your livelihood? What is your expertise? What is the knowledge you have gained? So that was a question I put for myself. Then I decided, let me have a right livelihood which can take care of me and my family. Then let me take some more time. I had postponed the entry, but in small way. But I was in politics, contesting Senate elections from the graduate constituency, from the teachers constituency. Like this, I had contested many elections. I was a student association president, state junior doctors president. I occupied many positions. So gradually I got into this, and just I made sure, and I got a very good livelihood system to earn money and to take care of my financial requirement, as well as to reach out socially also, to fund my own elections also. I had to earn for myself, and I had not taken any donation, or I was not dependent on anybody to take care of my elections also. So gradually I got into this, and my advice to my young friends is, always be active, be part of the political system. But for contesting election, take your own time, have some kind of real domain expertise, and earn money for yourself, be on your own legs, so that you should not depend on anybody. You should not look for somebody else's money. You should not look at somebody else's money, and you should never be weak. You should be strong. You are come here to give, not to take. You are coming here to give, not to take. So you can take only responsibility. You can occupy position and you can take responsibility. But through that, you should not look for yourself or self-interest. It is only to give back to the society and show a very good leadership. Thereby, we can strengthen and empower our entire society. We should not be second to none in the entire world into any other country. That was the main aspiration. We need to be, first of all, we need to be strong, and we need to have a lot of clarity. We need to have a lot of clarity. With the clarity, whichever political party you want to join, just because you got an opportunity, don't get into any political party. Unless you're justified, the political party which you are going to join is of the similar thoughts or the similar interest, or we are comfortable joining that party and you can do well. And hopping of party also should not happen. Hopping just because you don't get opportunity, you don't get encouraged, keep changing. All these things should not happen also.
Yeah. You are in a very unusual situation in life. You are a doctor, a medical doctor, which is, there have been global surveys. It is the most respected profession. Like doctors, people have a lot of trust and faith, and the trust level, the faith level, and the respect level for doctors is the highest amongst any profession in the world. And for politicians, it is one of the lowest. People see politicians, like you saw politicians as a chance to help people. But in general, the average, maybe it's because of so many movies in Bollywood or whatever, or even in Kannada movies, they show the politician as the villain, right? A lot. And it's not like, and a lot of people feel like, how is it a place to help people? People only join politics to make money. People only join politics to, I don't know, for their own selfish interest. How did you, and especially when you're medicine, which is like, doctors are very respected, how did you reconcile? And when you entered, you were also seeing Indian politics, you were also seeing, and this is back in like early 2000s, right, when you were actually actively joining politics. So tell me about this whole image of a politician that is there in the average person, that they are selfish, or they are not there, and on your head you're like, okay, I will join this to help people. So how did you reconcile the two?
Yeah. First of all, the first important thing is, I didn't become a politician by chance. I became a politician by choice. That is a very important point. And along with that, the kind of reputation or the trust among the public for a politician, it's not good. Always I've been asked this question only: why a doctor getting into a politics? That was not well appreciated by many people. Why you get into all these things? You better keep away from all these things, was the normally advice given for many of the people. But
Yes.
I thought, but I thought many a time, doctor, we never had a shortage of doctors. Then I thought, being a doctor is much more better. See, being in politics, the knowledge, that's what I was told in the beginning. The expertise or the knowledge, if we gain, we can do better in the field wherever we have been given opportunity when we get into the governance. Probably what we have learned or our experience of the profession will come into the play and we can do better and perform better. And as a politician, the trust deficit is a very huge among the public. Nobody will be willing to trust a politician because they think we are trying to take advantage in every possible situation. And we are here to make money, 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 and we are just for our self-interest. That is a kind of notion has been very strongly built in the society. Trusting a politician is the last thing. Even though in front they feel since we occupy position, they are no other way. They tend to respect us a lot. But look behind, it is the other way around. But we need to overcome all these things. We need to make it better acceptability, more transparent, which the trust has to increase. We need to make the system more transparent, more accountable, open governance, open system has to be brought in so that people should feel they are also part of the governance and they've been taken into confidence and there's nothing to hide. We need to ensure that nothing to hide and it is a very open system. So in this direction, probably taking it forward will bring in better acceptance. And with regard to the profession, as people wanted globally acceptability, why we here, all these challenges were there definitely. But here it's a very challenging situation. And politics, it's not so easy. It's really little bit complicated. Getting into adjusted to all these things is a really challenging aspect. But since you need to progress, be when you're in Rome, you have to be Roman only. We can't be something else. But ultimately, we should not forget our intention. We need to overcome all the challenges and go forward and do things.
Yes. And your first, so tell me, and just because we don't know how the political thing works, your first election you contested was in 2004 in Karnataka, an assembly election, right? And firstly, and you lost that election, and that's very important because for my channel, I always tell people that even the so-called successful people have faced their share of failure, and I think tell me, it's on the internet. So it was Malleshwaram 2004. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right, Chetan. You're perfectly right. I contested
my first election. So firstly, tell me, how did you get the ticket? How did you actually get the ticket? Because I think that's also quite hard to get. And then tell me about the election. And when you lost that election, how did you feel as a human being? Because this is your dream. You're saying since childhood, you've been wanting to become a politician. You get a ticket. Tell me how you got the ticket, and then you lost it, and then how you felt and how you brought yourself back in the game.
My first election was 2004, Chetan, as you rightly said. I just approached. I joined political party in the year 2003. I approached my then state president, late Sri Anant Kumarji, was earlier a union minister and the party president of the state union. I approached him. When he saw me, a professional, how can he face this election? He is such an innocent fellow. He looks so innocent. And how can he manage and face this election? The nitty-gritties of the politics is not aware of it and how it runs and how it needs to be managed. So I told him, see, sir, if you give me an opportunity, I can prove myself and show, because already earlier I was in a student representative, student president. But more than this, I can show my organizing capabilities. We had conducted a big Arogya Mela. That was the biggest in the country. Probably 25,000 people participated in the Arogya Mela in a city like Bangalore. That it was conducted in Malleshwaram. In 3 days, we had a participation of more than 25,000 people in the 2003 December it was conducted. So they could see how I could organize. That was one part. The other part was in Malleshwaram. Our party was not that strong. Not that strong. Previous election in the year 1999, we had contested, and even earlier election also, we had secured 20,000 votes. We are standing in the third position. The first was normally it was JDS, then the Congress, then the BJP. But in the year 99, the Congress candidate won the election. He was a very powerful man. He belongs to the MS Ramaya group and MS Ramaya's son. So normally contesting, thinking of contesting against him itself was in a something, cannot think of. So normally people. But I am a person very confident about myself. I think I am the best. As you rightly show in the Three Idiots, that I am the best. Always I feel I am the best. Nobody is better than me. That is the kind of confidence I normally have. I don't think anybody is better than me. That kind of confidence level is there, and I have a lot of confidence. And as and when I thought I can overcome any challenges and I can be the winner. So I was given ticket just 20 days before the election. I secured the highest votes, but I lost by 9,000 votes. I got more than 55,000, 50,000, more than 50,000 votes I was able to secure. And I came close by. Somehow it went wrong and I didn't stop there because I immediately.
So when you got the result and you were with your team, they were helping you, were you looking at it as, okay, I have lost? Or like you said today, I was looking at, okay, I got 50,000 votes. What were you looking at that time?
So I was such a overconfident person. I thought I'm not going to lose, but I lost it. And after losing, it was by a small margin. Even my opponent was very surprised the kind of margin, because earlier election he had won by a big margin. This election, a new person, a new entrant coming so closer. Oh my God, how come this has happened? He was very surprised. Even then, I could have won because of some other reasons, which now I'll not be able to share. But many good reason, many sabotage will happen. But it has happened. But I was very confident. I showed him how election can be conducted, the kind of trend I had created, the trend, what I had created, the aura, the positive environment was something really good. But after losing election, I didn't stop. Then the very next day I was on the field. The very next day I was in the field to prepare for the next election. So I started my journey in that direction.
The very next day.
Very next day.
Okay, you have to explain this mental mindset. So I'm asking you this because a lot of people, they fail. I mean, they're not contesting elections, but let's say someone gives an exam for medical entrance. Someone gives an exam for engineering entrance. Someone starts a business. You're talking of startups. Sometimes startups fail also. They start going to the gym and fitness and diet, and then they fail after 1 week. They just give up. How do you get to that level where you say, I have lost, but from tomorrow, I will start working for the next election, rather than just sitting and crying and blaming everybody else? That guy was corrupt. This guy did that. This was bad. This was bad. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Life is not fair. And just that, a lot of people do that. But you are saying you lost. Next day, preparation for next election begins. How do you, it's really in the head, right? What's your mindset that you use to bounce back from failures so fast?
Chetan, I was able to reconcile to the reality immediately after losing the election the same day. I took all my friends or my supporters, my party workers along with me. We went and had, immediately after the result, I took them along with me. We went and had lunch together. I thanked them, congratulated them, and I told, thanks, we'll start from tomorrow. And we need to accept whatever. Ultimately, we work to win the election. But when you lose also, you should have that sportsmanship to, accept the result and accept the verdict of the people. So in this direction, I was very positive, very happy. But in the night, I went and wept.
Really?
Yes.
By yourself? By alone?
Yeah, no, along with wife.
Okay, how sweet.
She had become emotional.
So when you lost,
emotional, then I had to respond to that. Even I became emotional. Then the next day, I was back to normal. I just went to the field. I wanted to assure the people who had voted for me that you can look up to me. I am with you. We'll work together and we'll take it forward.
So with your team, the team that was running the campaign, you kept a brave face, right? You kept a brave face. and you went out with them, told them it doesn't matter, we'll come back, we'll work hard, and at night it hit you that this is a loss. Of course, it's everybody. And then you had whatever with your wife, you had an emotional moment, you cried, and then the next morning you said, you know what, I'm not giving up. You didn't feel like this is the wrong profession for me, you didn't feel like it's like this?
No, once getting into it, we should think before getting into it. So once we get into it, we should not look back. Only we need to look forward and take it forward in this direction. I was very keen to prove and do things good for our people, since we thought that was an age from the childhood, it was an aspiration to get into it. Nobody invited me here. I came on my own. So coming on my own, we need to continue and we can't stop somewhere in the journey. So I went ahead and continued the journey, started working, taking up things, many of the things which need to be called for the attention of the government and the system. We worked in that direction and facilitated for the next election.
So and then the next election was 4 years later. Am I right? 4 or 5 years.
The election was in the year 2008.
8. Yeah, for some reason it's after 4 years. And then you fought in the same constituency, Malleshwaram again, right?
Same constituency, same Malleshwaram constituency I contested.
Same candidate and same candidate.
Yes, same candidate. It was the candidate was also a same candidate, and delimitation also had happened in the delimitation process also took place. And in the 2008, I contested from the same constituency, same opponent, and I contested from my party.
And that time you won big, right?
That time I won by what margin I had lost the election. From the same margin, I won the election in the upcoming election in the year 2008. That was a great message, and again, it shook many of the people that how we came back there.
Yes, and you have been.
It was a real tough election.
Yeah, and why do you say that?
It was tough, and even my opponent was very strong candidate, and he had very good roots, and he had also a very good family name, brand name, all possible good things were there. So I was able to connect more stronger. I created more positivity and more acceptance, and for myself and for my party. So all these things helped me to get through.
I know you won, and that has become your seat now, right? I mean, that is like even 2018 you won from there, and now I heard you have like 67% votes.
Yes, highest in the second highest in my state and first highest in my party.
Yeah, it is like 2/3. So you won. So just to give people a perspective, from his constituency, there were a total of 1,23,000 votes were polled, and out of that, the BJP candidate, which is Sir here, C.N. Ashwath Narayan, won 83,130 votes. That is 67% of the votes. And the second candidate won 29,000 votes. So 83,000 versus 29,000. That is a clean sweep. And that is in 2018 and 2004. You started over here only, where you lost and cried one night.
Yes.
Wow. Quite a story, huh? You didn't feel like, okay, I'll change my constituency. This is not lucky for me. This is not the safe place. You didn't feel like that? Like they should give you a better seat, this is not a BJP seat or whatever. You can always justify like that, right?
No, the one best part is Malleshwaram. This constituency is very well known across the world. The people of this constituency are culturally rich, educationally rich, and for all good reason, this is something really fantastic. And I think this is a pride for me and an achievement for me to represent a constituency like Malleshwaram is really a pride and a real prestige. Representing Malleshwaram is something really great. Many people can represent many other constituencies, but Malleshwaram is something really unique, something we need to feel good about the people about this constituency. They're amazing.
Okay.
The people
I'll give you a small connection to Malleshwaram. My wife was born there, and my wife's grandmother's house was in Malleshwaram. She passed away just a year or two ago. But yeah, my wife's grandmother, and that was her Bangalore house. She lived in Bangalore. My wife went to school in Bangalore for a long time, and she stayed in Malleshwaram. So yes, I have been there.
What a
So
great coincidence, and I am
yeah,
lucky to.
no,
What
no,
a
I'm
great
also.
connection, sir. Great
So I
connection.
know.
Oh, probably I feel I'm representing you also now, sir.
Yes, sort of course.
Because
And yeah,
the roots always you can't leave the roots, sir. Ultimately, the
yes,
roots are
the
very
Malleshwaram has
strong.
this. It is the Bangalore which how Bangalore used to be. It still has that, and it has that
Yes,
charm of that. You go through the streets, you will still feel that charm. Like, and but it's still modern and it's still very centrally located. But it's still, you enter a different world. In certain lanes, feel very beautiful, and like they have that old, that like unaffected by the whole crazy development all over and the malls and everything, but it's still got that charm, isn't it?
though they are the people who are responsible for the transformation in the technology or innovation or in
Yes.
education or in culture, whatever aspects, whatever fields, but they are the people, but they tend to be the same. And the transformation they've given to the entire world. But if you want to see Bangalore, you want to see Karnataka, that is the place. With
Yeah.
regard
In
to
fact, good you mentioned that this balance of tradition and modernity. In fact, even the party you are from, the BJP, they oftentimes talk a lot about Indian roots, Indian culture, all our history. It's very important. But at the same time, when you're doing the job of an IT minister, you're talking about the latest technologies and artificial intelligence and things that are just cutting edge. How do you reconcile the two? How does a person, a young Indian, view himself or herself as an Indian? Is being Indian about all our rituals, festivals, traditions, food, everything else? Or is being Indian about progressiveness, innovation, or can we have a mixture of the two? And how do you see that?
particularly Chetan, you know very well, the kind of diversity what we see in our country or our state, our places is immense. For every 40 kilometers, there's a lot of diversity. So we need to connect with each other. Probably the technology will connect us so strong, particularly in the context of even India or our state. We have a lot of, even in our state, if you look at the diversity, it's a huge diversity is there. Just like India, what we can see in Karnataka.
Yes, yes.
So technology will bring us closer. See, whatever might be the challenges in communicating or connecting with each other, the technology has made us comfortable to connect with each other. And whatever the good things have been done, the technology is coming to our rescue and help to simplify and connect us to the entire world for the matter of talent or matter of administration or simplification or the data analysis, whatever has been taken up, the analysis is taking us and simplifying and making things so easy. If it is making us not only life easy, the solution, and it is making everything cost effective. Cost effective, it has become cost effective, and we are getting the best of the best solution for nothing.
Mm.
And that is the kind of talent we are having, and we are, as Indians, we are known for the gray matter also. That is our
Yes.
asset, which we need to leverage, And looking at the other natural resource, if we look at the natural resource or the population and the economic issues, social challenges, political challenges, probably not only diversity, solution, quality of life, and many other reasons. This is really helping us to, position ourselves, upgrade ourselves, to progress ourselves. All this technology is coming as in a biggest opportunity and biggest facilitation. And more so, the technology, people have a perception that the technology is for more for richer people. Actually, it is not true. The technology, whatever has been developed, adapted, it is helping the lost man in the society. It is helping the poor people to get their voice heard, their presence
Mm.
felt. The real equality, what we are talking about, the real equality and equity and inclusion can be seen through this. As minister, my particularly my department are in education, in socially or in governance, we could see the effect, how it has made so much of difference. Earlier, we used to tell the whatever money being spent by the government, the 10% only reaches the last person. Now, the 100 rupees, 100% itself is reaching the last person, and more so in seconds it is reaching it. So all these things could happen because of the emerging technology or the upgradation of technology or the solution. And particularly artificial intelligence has become so relevant for a farmer. Imagine for a farmer, whatever transaction is to happen, whatever farming is to do, never nothing is to be documented with regard to the infection of his plants, or with regard to the price, or with regard to the status, soil, or the economy, or the problems connecting with the devices or the data. Everything is making so much of difference. Probably even the agri-tech, if you look at the agri-tech, the more than 50% of the companies are in my state. Of the entire country, 50% of the companies are here. Probably the farm laws, whatever changes has happened, probably I think a lot of input from here, and now it started before itself, even the law could come. All these things have happened.
Yes. Yes, indeed. In fact, and one of the things I've seen in your the style of governance, if you can call it, is you, at least in Bangalore and Karnataka, you are involving the private sector a lot. And it's not just like, there are of course schemes like the Vision Group and all that, where you have private and public participation, and that's not at theory level. Let me tell you what happened to me to get invited to this summit. First, someone from the government called me, and then I had Kiran Mazumdar Shaw madam calling me, the Biocon CEO. She said, Chetan, can you come and join this technology summit? And then the Karnataka government also said. So I mean, it was so seamless. It felt like everybody's working together for just this summit. And it's like I couldn't even tell who's the government and who's the private person. And how is that happening? And tell me about your thinking, and how can we do that in more of India? Because I think it's a great idea, because usually the government and private sector are always at odds with each other. They're like a conflict. But you have managed to make groups, vision groups, literally, and they are doing things together for improving the state, improving the sector. Let's talk about that.
Yep. Luckily, in the state of Karnataka, Chetan, irrespective of governments, let me be very frank with regard to this aspect, irrespective of the government changing, the industry never used to be affected. That comfort level of the industry is to be really great. And they were very closely working with the government. The government is to definitely respond to whatever suggestion was given by the industry, particularly the people who used to head the department of ITBT had a passion for particularly for this technology and encouragement and facilitation. So the people with that kind of attitude itself, they got into this department. And the government also, whoever was the chief minister, they all took a lot of interest and they facilitated. And a lot of strength was added in the year 2000 by the former chief minister, S.M. Krishna. Consequently, the next future governments also started looking up in this direction. That become the strength and uniqueness and our pride of the state itself, because we are gradually recognized as a highest exporter in the country. That gave us a greatest advantage. That took, particularly in those times, if you look at the export with regard to the foreign account deficient, current account deficiency, whatever we could earn more and more revenue, it was through the foreign exchange. And with regard to the Vision Group, whoever was heading in the Vision Group, they were a part of the government, and their advice was very well taken. They were respected, and their suggestion was very progressive and forward-looking. So we could collaborate, and that kind of government having a strong, rigid, and being very aggressive or being very dominating. Nothing like that. We were very friendly, and we were very accommodative, and we facilitated, respected them, gave all kind of encouragement. We are in the terms of all the policies, we gave a lot of encouragement. Their voice was very much heard in our government and the chairmen of the Vision Group. So we thought, since we will not be having that kind of domain expertise, so when it comes to the happening in the technology, it is not so easy to understand whatever is the challenges being faced by the industry. keeping in mind the Silicon Valley of the US or the California, how things have been progressing, we need to catch up with that. So catching up
Mhm.
and providing services also was a big Herculean task. So in this direction, Vision Group came as a real solution, and we constituted, and they were a part of the government. Their advice was very well taken.
Okay, that's good. What else do we need to do? Okay, many people must be asking you this. How can we make more Bangalores in India? I know Bangalore is great. How can we make more Bangalores in India? More, there is obviously a talk of smart cities and all that, but how do we make more? India is such a big country, and I agree, Bengaluru is unique. But how do we make more of such cities where there are a lot of flourishing IT companies? I think Gurugram in near Delhi is one of them. But how do we make more? What is it that makes a city like this, or is it just by chance?
No, definitely it can be done anywhere, Chetan. I completely agree with you. It is an intention and encouragement. We need to facilitate, we need to allow things to happen. We should not hold it very tightly. We need to allow things to happen and encourage. So probably in this direction, our entire country, we want more and more cities to become more than Bangalore, more than Bangalore. We are not trying to compete with anybody, but we want this kind of ecosystem to be thriving in all other parts of the country. Probably I should be more frank with you. In Bangalore, what we see is entire India here. Entire India, all the talents coming down here, uh, and the entire ecosystem has been built by the sweat and blood of all the persons belonging to the various states. They come down, they build the Bangalore. Similarly, this kind of initiatives and the encouragement of the progression should happen in different parts of the country. This kind of replication can happen provided we encourage them more and more. In this direction, in the state of Karnataka also, we are trying to take things beyond Bangalore. We want to take it beyond Bangalore, and we are giving a lot of encouragement, incentives, subsidies, facilitation, hand-holding, encouragement, and making them comfortable, telling them what you need, what kind of support you want. We'll be willing to extend it, and there are better places better than Bangalore. So go forward. Similarly, cities like Bangalore needs to be built or encouraged across the country in this direction. The right policy, right approach, and first of all, foremost and more important, that we need to believe this is the way forward. See, technology, innovation is the way forward. That is the strength of the society. Since ours is in a knowledge-based economy, knowledge-based society, we need to hold on to this very strongly. We need to respect them. We need to encourage them. If you be indifferent, if you try to be indifferent, if that will not help us. Definitely, we need to accept that reality of this is a solution, this is a way forward. That reality and acceptance, unless it doesn't come in among our administrators, it becomes really difficult to have things like that. Because entire world, we are competing with the entire world. We are not trying to compete among ourselves. Since in that backdrop, we need to encourage and facilitate for the entire world, not just only our country, not just only our people. We want entire world to look up here. We want everybody to look at our country as the land of opportunity. We want our place to be land of opportunity. So that will take us to the greater heights. Will make so people will come anywhere and everywhere if things are happening in the right direction.
Yeah, these are wonderful thoughts, and it's really refreshing to have a politician talk like this. But you do see a lot of noise on, at least on social media. I know social media is not India. I know Twitter is not India. But there is a lot of voices which are constantly trying to divide on many bases: religion, region, language, caste. And as a politician, you've seen it. I mean, people do it all the time to win elections, to just so. Why does that happen? Firstly, in your view, and how do we make more Indians focus on what you just said, that how do we become land of opportunity? How does India become land of opportunity for everyone, for all Indians? How do you and why do you think there is so much of this? What you said, technology can be used to unite people, but it's also being used to divide people, because a lot of people are coming on social media and saying all kinds of things. You know better, you're a politician, you must be getting it on your Twitter feed every day. So why do you think India is like this, and how can we change this?
See, Chetan, you know very well, the positive things to get attention, it is very difficult
Huh.
to appreciate and to take it forward. See, negative is something easy. See, you don't need any much of talent for that. See, it
Hmm.
is only the negative people, the negative perception, the negative mindset gets always the attention that keeps, rocking, making news. That is the tragedy of the society. See, this is a negligible. Actually, to be very frank with you, that's a negligible portion of the society. See, everyone is working in a positive direction to do better things. But what happens to make it much more relevant, to catch the attention, the negative news normally tend to get more attention. We need to ignore probably my best solution, my best advice is we need to ignore more of these kind of things. See, no society is incident free. No society is incident free. If you look at many of the countries who have many negative things, many negative stories, many negative incidents in their own country, they tend to advise other countries. If they look at their backyard, one incident, if it had happened in our country, 100 incidents would have happened in their country. But they never
Hmm.
talk about it. But always they tend to talk about one incident, what happens in our society. And we, as in a society, if you look at the kind of democracy what we have, the freedom what we have, if you compare with any other country, the status, the equality for the minority or the socially disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged group is being given the topmost priority.
Hmm.
But the real empowerment or the benefit it needs to be passed on, we need to take it to them, implement in a right spirit. So that is one part. But negative news should not be my advice is always in a society, definitely you'll have negative perception, negative news, negative incident, but this need not be given. It should be taken seriously, but it not should not be given so much of importance what is being given now. Probably
Okay.
the good things what youngsters have been doing. Many times, if I talk to most important people, they'll not be even aware. They'll not be even aware what kind of changes are happening, how we need to adapt this, how we need to integrate, how we need to go forward. These are
Hmm.
not discussed, debated. This is not taken forward. But only these kind of negative aspects has been given too much of importance. That is what I have seen. But as a society, these kind of things will keep coming. But how best we can tackle it is also important. We are, as a government, we have taken a serious view of anybody taking law into hand will not be encouraged. Let it be anybody.
Huh.
Anything going against the law should not be appreciated. That is not fair. Then the system cannot exist. The system cannot exist. All of us should be law abiding. All of us need to respect law. Need to, whatever might we have differences. We can always express. We can express and we can bring in changes in the policies. But taking law into the hand is really not appreciated. Each and every citizen need to respect law. Then only system can be in place. You can have
Yeah.
differences.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, it's good, and I think we always need reminders that we need to ignore the negativity, but somehow negativity has a way that it gets more attention, like you said, even with ourselves, right? Even as an individual, we have so many 10 positive things will happen in our life, we will ignore them, but the one or two negative things, they affect us so much more. Uh, Whenever you have faced, I mean, not everything you do works, not all the schemes work, not all the plans go according to, especially when you're organizing things and all. Whenever things don't go well, you wanted them to go well but they don't go well, how do you learn from that? What do you tell yourself? How do you move on from there when uh, something negative happens? And also, like, when some people are saying, like, you may be doing something with, I don't know, very good intentions, but on Twitter, you put something good, and below people are just start abusing and say all kind of things. How do you deal with that?
Uh, First of all, as individually, we need to have a lot of clarity with regard to what we are doing. So we need to introspect and we need to analyze from many directions. After analyzing, we need to come out with right kind of solution or approach. So we need to come out with many of the time people tend to make blanket statements. They paint everybody with the same paint. They tell you are also no different. You are a corrupt fellow. You are this. You are that. You are not having an interest for public. You are doing it for your self-interest with your own benefits. This is the kind of normally what we are the statement. See, some many a time we get disheartened. We get disappointed. But once we start considering to all those things, we can't move forward. So what we do is we try our best to reach out to the people who have been affected, talk to them, negotiate, dialogue through dialogues, and we try to convince them. And ultimately we try to take it forward. If their points are right, we concede and we'll take the step forward or bring in some kind of correction and overall ensure that which is what is acceptable. As a democracy, we need to reach out and we need to understand. And finally, after all this process, we try to, if we feel that is right, to take it to be taken forward, we'll take it forward. Otherwise, we need to take step backward and reconcile and accept whatever is the reality. If we stop with one, again work with new one. So it doesn't mean we need to stop there itself. So we got disappointed. See, people didn't agree what to do. So come out with new things. See, ultimately we have come here with a purpose. The purpose of working for the betterment of the people. So if not one issue, we need to come with many more issues, many more proposals, work closely, take it forward. Whichever has been accepted, let us take it forward. Whichever has been, questioned, we need to discuss, debate, make it more agreeable. Because even in our democracy, there are many layers. It is not just one layer. Below me, there are many layers. Above me also, there are many layers. So in this direction, we need to convince, accept, make it. And we are part of an organization. We are part of a system. So I tend to work in between everybody, and we understand. We need to understand. We need to understand the psychology. We need to understand the perception of the people. We need to keep everything in mind, and we need to go forward. Ultimately, we are coming. The purpose has to be clear, first of all. If the purpose is not clear, then everything is defeated. So we understand the dynamics and work, and whenever challenges comes, we receive the challenges. Mentally, we'll be prepared. When we are convinced that whatever we are doing is right, even if we get brickbats, we need to take it forward. So time will tell what is right, what is wrong. We need to come with it. We need to work in that direction. So many times we need not play only to the gathering, because many a times the perception or the understanding will not be that good. If you are convinced as a responsible person working for the people, we need to take it forward.
Okay, that's really well put, actually. What have you learned? You're in politics, and politics is about people. What have you learned about people after, if you were to give your wisdom about human beings, because your whole career is about dealing with human beings. What have you learned about people and Indians in the last 2-3 decades of being in politics?
Our people have been the kindest people. They have been able to bear with the system, though they've faced many challenges. Many good things has happened in our society. Many good things has happened. Many progress has happened. But if you compare with other countries, other people, many other society, their aspiration has been much more with regard to the improvisation in the quality of life. But looking at all those things, even though we are not able to get it, people are able to bear with that. They've been still very kind enough, good enough, not trying to take law into the hand just because they've been denied something what they wanted in their life, which is, since if it is denied, no, if I'm not being denied, let me get it, let me snatch it. That kind of attitude is not there among our people. If you compare with many other countries, people tend to snatch it. When it is not given, they tend to snatch it. This is my right. I need to get it. What way I should be denied? All these thoughts will come, but it is not there. It has been a very tolerant society, very progressive, very friendly, and this is the greatest quality what I've seen in our people, that I keep telling all the time. This is the greatest quality, but no more. They can probably before the time is late, before the time is late, all of us need to understand and be more caring for the people and for their concern. We need to work for more and more for their concern instead of our concern. We need to look at their concern. We are coming here to address that concern. Probably we need to work very strongly before the time runs out, and we need to bring in the changes, which is people centric. It needs to be people centric.
Yes. Having good relationships at work, in life, in with your partners, with colleagues, with vendors, customers is very important. And see, I think all politicians are expert at people skills. What is the secret to have good people skills in life? Anybody who wants to be good at understanding, like working with people, what are some of the tips you would give to a youngster growing up today?
Definitely, Chetan, we need to be basically first a good human being. See, we need to be human. We need to appreciate their feeling, not only just our concern, not trying to use anybody, not trying to use anybody, or trying to take advantage of them. Should not be the principles of friendship or the relationship. So we need to care for each other, and being not, always trying to snatch, gain should not be the attitude. Really, the basic qualities, and in this direction, try to be a dependable, reliable, a good person, be good to them, but try to give more and more, not try to take more and more. Giving should be the culture, and caring for them should be the culture, respecting them should be the culture, giving dignity should be the culture, being understanding. In this direction, we need to be a good team, and individually we can't do much. But what I believe, individually you might have a lot of clarity, strength, knowledge, everything can be there, but we can do things as in a team. We can do things as a team. We need to care for each other. We need to go together. We need to work as a society. We need to work as in a team, fully understanding that we need to be with each other and care for each other.
That's good. That's very well good. Any last tips on people who want to be successful in life, Indian youngsters who are watching this? And I must say, like you said, whenever there is a negative talk, if you had given a speech which is some kind of a controversial about something, identity politics or whatever, we will have far more views. That is a fact. If I also give a speech like that, I'll have far more views. But today, you and I are talking about nation building and development and self-development, and we will have less views, isn't it? But that's okay.
Yes.
We still need to do this.
So your movie of the
No, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah. The story of your movie, Three Idiots itself, is a very inspiring story for us, how to be and how to do things, and how we need to take forward the life. So in this direction, probably the inspiration varies person to person, but overall, as a commonly, we need to gain knowledge. That is the most important. Always I keep telling the people, see, education is the most important foundation, and we need to learn properly. It needs to be holistic, and if needs to be holistic, we can't do it we can't do it in isolation. What I'm trying to convey everybody, my speeches more often, it is to emphasize and promote education itself, because education is the right solution. Because many more things here, all the aspects of life can be addressed through a right education. A proper right education can only bring in solutions. So let it be culturally, let it be socially, let it be knowledge wise, let gaining solution for a better life, for a peaceful life for each and every person, and being uh, diverse, a tolerant society, having a quality society. It can happen through a right education. Being a law-abiding citizen can happen through a right education, and taking care of his own health also can happen through a right education. Without a right understanding and a right holistic education, we can't do much. So in this direction, I keep telling people, please emphasize a lot on knowledge and give topmost priority. If each one of us need to grow in our life. We need to get a right education, and we as a society also, we give a lot of importance for education individually, but as in a community, we are not done it properly. As a community, we are not given a lot of importance we need to give. So I've been telling this story across, and even the three idiots is in the same line. What kind of education should be given? What is holistic education? How we need to recognize the talent among the people. This needs to be emphasized. This needs to be promoted. That is what I keep telling. And being controversial, I never try to be controversial. So far, I never been controversial. I never made any controversial statements. Nor
Yes.
nor I want to make it in future also. But I want to be a part of the solution. I want to be a part of the solution. I just want to take it forward and be a good person, do good, be good. That's all my ultimate message. And you have also conveyed it very strongly. Probably that has opened the eyes of many people. Probably I strongly believe what is education. Ultimately, finally, you're taken to the finally logical end. What is education? How education should be promoted? What you have said is in the similar lines of national education policy, led by our prime minister also is on the similar line, and we need to adapt. And I think the entire country will transform. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I don't have any doubt. In a right spirit, we need to implement and take it forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Like you summed it up, be a part of the solution. Be a part of the solution. There are a lot of problems. You can keep talking about the problems. You can say my problem is bigger than your problem. You can say I have unfair problem, you have a fair problem, whatever. But ultimately, for our own lives, for our community, and for our nation, we need to be part of the solution. It's really refreshing to talk to you. And guys, if you have reached this point, I congratulate you, because we have been discussing serious issues and you have heard us. And please press the like button on this video. Please give a comment on your thoughts. I'll have the minister sir read it. He will take the feedback, and I would love to know what you guys thought of it. And once you do all that, it tells the YouTube algorithm to show the video to more people. Like if you're putting comments and likes and subscribe to all this, and you share the video, it's good, because this is what the kind of content I believe we should be watching. I can keep making joke videos, I can keep making silly videos, and they will get lots of views, but I want you to develop yourself, and I want this nation to be developed. I thank the minister sir for the time. I will be joining you for the conference. I'm very excited. I have not opened $1 billion startup, but just to be part of the conference is so exciting. So thank you for that.
No,
thank you for
now
time.
I feel now you should be part of the $1 million startup. I feel you should be. I think you should be the model or the representative. You need to lead from front, and I'm looking forward to your presence on 18th. I would be looking forward to welcome you, sir, physically.
Thank
probably that is the greatest thing can happen, and it will bring big recognition and a glamour to our event. Probably your presence is make a huge difference.
Thank you so much. And sir, it's really good that people like you joined politics and worked so hard on it. And a lot of people don't know this. We always think like, okay, this politician is like this, or this controversial statement, and that's Indian politics. That is not Indian politics, guys. As sir said, there's a small percentage of people who get a lot of attention for the negative stuff, but there's a lot of people doing positive stuff. And if you watch this video, you support them, it's only going to be more of this stuff will happen. So thank you once again. Any last thoughts? What did you think about this interview? It's different. Like I told you, I'm not a journalist. This is not an interview. It's just a discussion. So yeah, before we wrap up, any last thoughts, last word to you, sir?
Our country and our state, I feel it's a promising land and promising place. So what I would like to tell my young friends is there's a lot of opportunity, and we are not second to none. Only thing is we need to work in this direction as in a team, and we need to give back to the society, and we need to be part of the society. Whatever challenges society faces is our challenges also and our problems. So India is a land of opportunity. we can look for a great future. I am very confident it is a matter of time. This will be the #1 country, the most developed country, the most progressive country, and most inclusive and equitable and diverse country known for its tolerance, culture, and Vasudhaiva Kutumbam in the true spirit. In the true spirit, I'm telling you, sir, in the true spirit, to keep up the tradition and the culture of our country should be known, and it should be a model for the entire world how we can live together in a globalized world. We are talking about in a globalized world. In this globalized world, we need to have the greatest human qualities. That should be India. Not only economically, we need to know what is life, what is meaningful life, along with the economics also. This
Okay.
is something which we need to work towards that.
Thank you, sir. On that positive note, we are all inspired to work on ourselves and our nation. Thank you so much for coming to Deep Talk. Take care. Thank you, sir. Thank you.